This week, of course, Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen. Of course, he's 4-time WDC
four
champion.
Kind of
People
wing.
were calling it the DIY wing.
Yeah. Looked like, they had taken some scissors and just kind of made some waves with it.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, I have to call it out because they told him, he's like, we told Carlos not to pass you, and then we see Carlos pass him, and then Charles says, maybe try Spanish. It was just probably one of the best radios, probably one of the best radio messages we've heard all year. I had someone say, someone was like, it's not Stroll's fault, but it technically is Stroll's fault because it's his car and his company. So really, you climb the ladder of...
Oh, the ladder of Stroll?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The ladder of Stroll, yes.
His car,
then it's
so
Stroll's fault.
It is Stroll's fault.
Oh, okay.
I know he listens to this podcast. Max Verstappen, congratulations
Max,
on your fourth WDC.
Is he
your
going to win more?
fourth and your last. That's right, buddy. That's right.
And the last.
That's right.
Get laced up.
Let's go!
It's time for Banter with the boys.
Yo, welcome back to Banter with the Boys, a Fast Laps, the Vegas recap, Qatar preview. Joe, welcome back for another week, of course, as our co-host. What's going on?
Thank you. Happy to be here. We're almost there, man. 2 more races.
No, don't say that.
Yeah, 2 more races, and then it's all over until February. To be honest,
that's too long.
Off season's really short, so
Yeah, well,
that's nice at least.
Well, let's still not talk about
But I mean, we dislike, a 3-week break. So
I suppose we'll probably have a shorter break between episodes in the real off season than the summer break, I feel like.
maybe, yeah. I know we want to do a couple.
Because we'll probably do like a preseason. We'll do like a season wrap up. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll throw like a little F1 history in the middle of winter in there. So I might just threw that out there. I don't know.
We'll do that on Christmas Day.
Kev, Christmas Day. Oh yeah, and don't forget Kev behind the camera who's making everything happen and allowing us to record on Christmas Day live. What are we talking about? Vegas, the Vegas recap. Joe,
Smelty.
what did you see in quali there? You said you had a couple little tidbits. Might as well just
quick notes in
pop those out
quali.
there.
Yeah. No shocker to anyone. Pairs out in Q1. Colapinto crashing in Q2, causing him to have to start from the pit lane during the race because of the damage to the car. Luckily, they were actually able to get the car to the race, so that's good. But yeah, quick quali recap. It was really going back a little bit further. Practice 1 really cold. I remember everyone was like, losing grip.
Did this end up being? I don't think it did, but did this end up being the coldest F1 race on record?
I'm not sure.
It's gonna have to be close.
It was probably
chilly.
pretty close. But yeah, it was pretty chilly all weekend. So, yeah, definitely hard on the tires. Just getting them in the right area. It was surprisingly. During the race, even the tires were kind of acting a little funny. A lot of people with different kind of strategies. Some of them only able to run the mediums for like 7 laps. So it was fun to kind of watch that happen. I know they're on like the softest compound.
And everybody was like, oh, it's going to be a 1-stop race. And there's like pretty high confidence about that pre-race.
Yeah.
Like everybody was like, yep, 1 stop. It's either you're going to run the mediums and then go to hards and stick it out or, try to go as long as possible on the hards to start the race and switch to the mediums, try to go as fast as possible at the end of the race. But
yeah, I didn't catch which allocation they were using, but I assume they were probably using the softest that they could of the 3. So if that's the case, then that would make sense as to why, they ran out so quickly.
Yeah, no, most teams went 2.
Yes. Yep.
But the race, the Grand Prix, what was the title of this one again? Heineken something Grand Prix?
Heineken Silver Grand Prix.
It almost had it, silver.
That's okay.
Heineken Silver Grand Prix. Normally we start talking about the driver who's won the race and the team that's won the race, but this week, of course, Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen. Of course, he's 4-time WDC
four
champion. Cole? Cole's not here. Darn it.
I would love to hear his take. Yeah.
Yeah. He would still say that. Well, never mind. I was going to say he'd still say that he deserves it, but then he'd come up with something about how he doesn't deserve it.
I mean, it's hard to tell. I think he would not be surprised. I'm not surprised that Max took it. I mean, he had such an incredibly strong start to the season. It's, no surprise.
We figure at the beginning of the year. It's no contest.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun that somebody was lurking there, for a little bit. Lando, if you
I feel
will.
better about him winning than I would have earlier in the season. Like, I think I would have been the worst thing in the world
Why
if
is
you told
that?
me. Just because he's kind of
the car's not as good.
Yeah, the car's not as good. He's really proved himself through a lot of these. He's also done some stuff that made him dislike him more. But especially recently, the Brazil race was crazy. Just to see him come from 17th or something all the way
no
up.
doubt. I mean, that's
So
no
I
matter
definitely
if you hate the guy
feel
or not
better
right
about
there.
it now, I guess. And now they can, now we can just see him have some good old fashioned fun on the track. Constructors is still up for grabs, and that is
Very
a
much
fight.
so.
Yeah,
That's a race
fight.
right now.
We'll have to talk about that when we get through the teams.
Yeah, let's make sure we mention that before we move on for sure. Checo, I mean, whatever. Did he make?
Whatever.
Did he make points?
Let me check really quick. I have.
Yes, he did. He got one.
He got 10th.
He got one.
Yes. So he made it up to 10th. He had a pretty good overtake. We just
those
watched.
2 passes. That late pass, actually, not 2 passes, 2 positions. That late pass on K. Megan Alonso to get into point. So that is good on him. It's weird seeing all the cars with that small little wing this week.
Yeah, the really
the
short
rear
wing.
wing,
We saw the Red
yeah.
Bull with kind of the shark kind of
People
wing.
were calling it the DIY wing.
Yeah. Looked like they had taken some scissors and just kind of made some waves with it.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, gotta eke any of that performance. And a lot of I heard the commentators talking about McLaren's wing and how because of that rule that was made where the DRS was kind of opening slightly, that maybe some of their pace is gone because of that. I don't know how true it is, but they definitely were not as fast as some of the other drivers out there this weekend.
Yeah, no, for sure. They really struggled this week. Before we get into them, let's give Mercedes their due. I mean,
We have to.
Finishing 1-2, and not only 1-2. George Russell, do I dare say, dominated.
Oh my gosh,
a good portion of this race.
Yeah, I mean, he did crazy well. Where has this car been? Lewis has even said, we don't know why the car is so good here. He speculates it's because it's so cold that the tires, they were able to manage them a little bit better, which means if that is exactly what's happening, Qatar is going to be just horrible for him. It's going to be so bad.
Is it slated to be ridiculously hot?
No, so I'll talk about it a little later, but we are later in the season, so it's not going to be as hot as it was last time out.
Okay.
But still hotter than Vegas by a
Large margin.
by a bit of a margin. Yeah. So,
considering we were talking last week about Vegas potentially being the coldest race ever, so
yeah, I
don't think it was, by the way.
Yeah, I think we're seeing 77 degrees Fahrenheit. All you
Qatar.
Celsius folks, I'm sorry. We're seeing 25 degrees Celsius in
you go.
Qatar. Thanks, Kev.
We'll just we'll just switch now on the show for F1 only,
I know that 0 is freezing.
and we'll stop there.
Cool. So if it is the tires, then yeah, they might be in trouble next weekend. But it was so I wasn't able to watch it live. I was unfortunately busy. But when I was watching it after, I was messaging some people, just my comments during the race, seeing Lewis pass Max. Oh, just put me in a good mood.
Yeah.
They didn't really have a chance to fight because Max was like, this isn't my fight. I'm going to win the WDC
For
anyway.
sure, he did not put up much
It does
of a
not
fight.
matter. But seeing him be able to pass Max, after seeing Max do the exact same thing, sometimes even lap him, it was so beautiful. I was so happy to see that. They did so well. I wish the car was like that. I wish it was last year where they're fighting for second in WDC. I don't know if this is going to carry on to next weekend, but man.
Now I'm curious though, right?
Yeah.
Now this kind of shows us where that Mercedes car is really going to be at to start next season, which kind of leads me into my last question anyway about Mercedes is George Russell going to be enough for Mercedes next year to really help lead them and maybe be top 3 in constructors next year in battle? Is he going to be enough? Antonelli, obviously, big question mark. We don't know. We'd like to assume he's going to be great. But again, with all the rookies that are going to be out there next year, oh, God, don't even get me started about next year. It's going to be ridiculous. But
You already
anyway,
started.
I know. Well, I guess that's what this question is.
Yeah.
Can George put his name in the ring to compete? He thinks so, right? Obviously. You have to think that way as an F1 driver, I would reckon. But do you think he can actually compete with the likes of Max, Lando, Oscar, Charles, or even Lewis in a Ferrari next year for that WDC?
I honestly think it's going to really rely heavily on the car itself. but I think he's more than proved himself this year. He's definitely their lead driver in points and on track. Just from what we can see, he's outpacing Lewis.
Don't get me started. This could be an off-season topic. I think there's some weird stuff
where like
not
they may be favoring
sabotage.
his side of the garage. I'm willing to admit that could be the case as well.
They got to know what they're gonna have, right? So they might as well start now. But
that being said, he drives the car he's given and he does it well. Yep. Is it WDC material? I think when I saw him in Williams, I would definitely say this kid has the chops to be a WDC. Like,
he was like the next
for sure.
Like
then he kind of got in Mercedes right when it started going a little more downhill, and we were like, I think he still has a chops, but I don't know if he's going to get the chance. Do I think he's going to take WDC next year? I don't think so. I hope he fights for it though. I think that would be awesome. I'd love to see him
fighting for podiums every week potentially type of deal.
That would be great.
Consistently.
Yeah, Mercedes, recent track record not great early season or throughout the whole season this year, but I'm hoping they can turn it around next year. I would love to see him up there. I'm hoping the car is good right off the bat too. If it is, I definitely think he can lead that team. Do I think he's going to be in the same position Lewis is in when George joined, having all that tenure? I don't know how that might benefit Antonelli or like how that team dynamic is going to be. I feel like George is probably better at racing his own race versus maybe being the team player.
I mean, he's number one.
Right, exactly.
No matter what next year, so
exactly
doesn't really have to worry about that.
It's just he hasn't reached the veteran status that Lewis is, so I don't
agree
know.
With that 100. Wow. There's not a lot of guys on the grid that have reached the veteran status of Lewis, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how he's going to take team orders being put against him if Antonelli is just as fast.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
The new Max Verstappen.
Right. With Antonelli having a rookie, this is the first time he's racing long term in an F1 car. Mercedes as a whole probably not going to win constructors either, just because you got a rookie there
for sure,
right?
And you got other high-end competitors.
Exactly, but WDC, I'm hoping we see Russell up there a little.
Okay, fair enough. Top 5 finish next year, maybe.
Yeah, I would say why not? I mean,
more comfortable.
Let's see. We got 4. It might be tough actually because you still got Max.
I know.
On the grid.
That's what I mean. A lot of drivers, so even top 5 might be tough.
You got Max in the grid. I would love both. I mean, Oscar's proven himself. I don't see why he wouldn't be top 5.
You would love the Papayas being up there.
Yeah, I was thinking, and then Lewis is. Yeah, I don't know. Top five could be difficult in the current Mercedes, right? Mm-hmm. So you're fighting whoever's in that second Red Bull seat. I think at least probably
for sure.
Yeah,
fair enough. Before we move on from Mercedes, Lewis obviously mega drive, driver of the day.
Such a good drive. Yeah. Where did he started in
Cars Fast this week?
Yeah, he started in like 10th, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that was a crazy drive from Lewis. If he had been able to qualify a little bit better, he would have won that race. I mean, he was driving. There was a point where I think his tires kind of fell off a little at the end. He was catching George a little.
Would they have? Well, George was probably trying to back off a little bit too to probably make sure he makes
George was in
the
the position to do so too.
He was up 28 seconds at one point, I'm pretty sure.
He was.
So,
yep. But Lewis closed the gap back up to 7 seconds without any major safety car or anything. So
true.
Yeah.
True. Great drive from Lewis. Great weekend for Mercedes.
Better drive than I've seen him do in a while. So it was nice to see him.
Got to feel good. I hope he could win like in Abu Dhabi or something. That'd be cool.
Oh, that would be
one
nice.
more time. Even Qatar's fine. Just one more win for Mercedes.
Yeah.
I wrote down during this is like we should do like a little Lewis Mercedes recap in the winter.
Sure.
I'm just gonna. We'll have shows. Joe.
We'll have a recap for every single driver.
Well,
how'd Joe do this year?
But yeah. How did Joe do? So Ferraris finishing 3-4. Kind of some interesting drama, right?
Truly most of the interesting stuff. It's funny we say this because Carlos he qualified second and then he finished third, but most of the stuff with Ferrari was happened in the radio or in strategy like we saw in the old days of Ferrari, right? Carlos asking to pit, the team saying no pit, and then him losing out some places, possibly second because of it,
and then freaking out on them.
Yeah, and then freaking out on them, and then when he finally does pit to come out, he's told not to pass Charles, but he does pass Charles, and then Charles, his huge rant at the end of it's just a weird we were
Yeah,
kind
Charles was ranting like
Yeah.
mad at the end of the race. He was super upset.
Yeah, I have to call it out because they told him, he was like, we told Carlos not to pass you, and then we see Carlos pass him, and then Charles says maybe try Spanish. That's just probably one of the best radios, probably one of the best radio messages we've heard all year. And this includes what race was Hungary when the whole the Max fighting with his engineer, and then Lando and Oscar. Definitely.
Can we play that audio royalty free? You think? Probably not. Team Comms, just at the end, just an episode of Team Comms. With
Maybe I think we could probably get away with playing the clip and then talking about it. I don't think we'd have any issues with doing that.
Ooh, we're gonna have to
we'll look into that next year, maybe at the end of the year as well.
Yes, off season.
That sounds fun.
We got off season anyway. So that was wild. And then
that being said, still good finishing for both of them.
Oh, for sure. But you put down a good point because I totally forgot that this even happened. How did Carlos not get a penalty for seemingly going to box and then skirting over the white lines to get back on the track in a more dangerous manner?
Yeah. So commentator, 100%. Like, I mean, we all thought it was coming. The commentators definitely thought it was coming.
They couldn't stop talking about it, which was weird.
Brundle was like, or maybe not Brundle, but one of the people in Sky Sports was actually going into like the rule book and pointed out exactly, what happened.
He brought up like article blah blah blah.
Yeah, he was like, and he did this, so he should be getting a penalty. I think the lowdown and what I've done a little bit of research on it just to kind of figure out why this had happened, and I think the lowdown is we had a new race director, and they do have the authority to, based on what they tell the drivers before the race, some of the rules or some of the things they're going to enforce, whether or not they may enforce them. And apparently this race director did not talk about the pit lane entry and any of the penalties that may be with that. Like some previous races, the race director might have said, if you're in the pit lines, any pit line, you must stay in that pit line. He did not do that and therefore could not enforce it. And that's why we didn't even see it under investigation.
But in that moment, which is fair, that makes sense. That all makes sense to me.
Does it though?
But yes, it does. It does. But in that moment, do you think if that rule was talked about beforehand, do you think Carlos still does it? Looked like a race decision.
Oh man.
Or do you think he honestly thought about that? Like, oh well, they didn't say I couldn't.
Man, if he thought about it, that was such a big brain move if he thought about it. But I don't know. It felt very in the moment.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I feel like he still would have done it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So yeah, that's my sort of tinfoil, not really tinfoil, because I heard it somewhere else that might have not been true.
You can't say tinfoil hat on this show anymore.
I've said
until it shows up
so many times.
Yeah, I know. And there's no tinfoil hat here. We keep all of our stuff here now.
Maybe the tinfoil hat were the friends we made along the way.
Yeah. Aw.
Anyway.
What's next? McLaren. Well, why don't you just start it off for us with?
I don't really know what to say.
You're such a McLaren fan. Well, other than repping Mercedes on the.
I mean, yeah, I had to 1-2.
Yeah,
I had to.
You have to.
Lando started 6th. Oscar started 8th. They both ended up. Lando kept 6th, and Oscar got into 7th. So Oscar made up a couple of places, but to be fair, I believe one of those places was Gasly, who retired.
He was, and I'm really curious where Gasly would have finished. I'll talk about him.
Yeah, and then Yuki, who I just didn't have the pace against him. So yeah, not incredibly strong. I would have imagined or hoped that they would have been a little bit stronger here. I had truly no idea how Lando would have placed.
They just didn't really look good, like the entirety of the race.
Yeah, not really. I will say Oscar got that. Oscar got a penalty for the pit lane start, or not pit lane start. Sorry,
false start.
False start. Yeah. Yes. He got a penalty for false start. It looked incredibly close to not being.
Ooh, and I'm not a McLaren fan, and they even said on the broadcast,
listen, if they call it as a penalty, I'm saying fine. If the system says it's a penalty, it's a penalty. Whatever. They gave me a single camera angle to see it.
Right.
It looked fine, but they know better than me.
Right.
I'm not worried about it. He obviously handled it well. He was able to pit and get it cleared relatively quickly, and then went on with his race. But other than that, yeah, a little disappointing. I would have hoped they would have gone up a little bit more, but what are you gonna do? What
Go
are they
to
gonna
next
do?
week, I guess.
I guess. Yeah, I'm curious how they'll do there.
No, it was truly disappointing for me. And again, not being a McLaren fanboy, but you kind of expect more from them, especially with constructors still on the line.
I will say, and also WDC was on the line for Lando as well.
Yeah, technically,
you would
but
have hoped.
It never seemed like it was even possible for him to get past Max, because he would have had to at least finish one place in front of him no matter what, right?
Yeah,
to stay alive.
He would have had
essentially.
to, and that would have had to be a high place, because
Right.
if they got like 7 and 8,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because I think it was
that'd
he
be a
needed to be
3-point
3.
difference.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to see I would have loved to see more of a fight for the win, but like after lap 1, it was like, nah, it's probably
they
not
just
gonna happen.
they just didn't have it. They didn't
Nope.
have the pace. Even Gasly at the time was faster than them.
Yeah, I would say
So-
Red Bull and like Max and Lando probably had similar pace throughout the race. Like they looked relatively even. I don't think Max really. I mean, he didn't make up a ton of places, you know.
No,
He
just
started 5th, ended 5th. So
Yeah.
right, so they
Just-
kind of held.
Max driving the pants off the thing.
Exactly.
Probably to keep it on the track at this point.
Yeah,
The car
and then,
does just seem super off.
Yep. Yeah, car's not the car we saw last year, that's for sure, or at the start of the year. But yeah, so that's all I kind of really have to say for McLaren. I don't really have,
Yeah, no, it's not bad. Could be worse, but it's
they
definitely
got
not
points.
good. So
It's good that I will say it's good for them that Mercedes got a 1-2, because Ferrari could have gotten a huge jump in points in the constructors. They already
Yeah,
did get a
right,
pretty big
right.
point jump, but
You're
it could have
right,
been a
good
lot
point.
worse. So Lando getting that fastest lap
And
right
the
at the end there
fastest lap, yep, I
too
was about to
helped
throw
him a
that
little
in there.
bit. So that's what we should be focusing on going forward, is now McLaren and Ferrari. And I don't think Red Bull can make it. I don't think Checo's going to allow Red Bull to make it back.
probably not at this point. Again, we'll update those in a minute
Yep.
here. Just real quick touch points. We don't need to spend a ton of time on them. Sorry, Mike. Nico though, getting P8.
Yeah, pretty good for
Another
Nico.
solid showing for him. Again, I can't remember. Did Mike say he was sad to lose Nico next year? Pretty sure he is.
He's sad to lose. I think he's sad to lose Nico, but he's also happy Nico's still in the grid. And
Yeah,
he
right,
also
right.
did mention that once they become Audi, he's going to become an Audi fanboy. So
True, he
you
did
know,
say that.
Nico's not going anywhere.
I thought I was going to as well until we get to our news.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to be a fanboy of that team. But anyway, Yuki for Racing Bulls. Oh, yeah. And then the other Haas driver, sorry, K-Meg finishing P12. K-Meg, 2 races left of his career.
Yep.
I read
a bit.
Maybe.
Oh yeah. I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
This is not, I don't think, related to what you're saying. I read that he still wants to be part of the Haas team in some kind of fashion. So
Oh, so you
maybe
think
we'll
he's-
see him in the paddock next year.
So do you think he's going to be just like, you know what, I'm going to retire?
I don't think he wants to retire. I don't know. I'm not sure. I
Interesting.
had just read that he
He
wants
wants to remain part of Haas.
He wants to remain part of Haas
Interesting.
in some kind of capacity.
Interesting.
I doubt they would keep him on as a reserve, but maybe.
Nah.
He's got experience, so if anything, like let's say
does have
one
experience.
of the drivers for some reason their home country, had some really horrible thing that happened and then they get banned from the sport. Maybe he can get called on again. Who knows?
Yeah,
You know.
that's never happened before.
Never.
All right, Yuki finishing P9 for Racing Bulls, getting a couple points there. The other Racing Bull driver, Liam, finishing barely on the lead lap. Not a great showing from Liam, a guy who's potentially trying to fight for that Red Bull spot that's not open at the moment. But obviously there's a three-way fight right now, and we'll talk about it when we get to our preview for Qatar. But the three-way fight, hypothetical fight, between Checo, Liam, and Yuki for that 2025 Red Bull seat at some point in 2025, not necessarily to start.
Yep.
I think we're pretty confident Checo's going to start in the seat, but I mean, at this point, who knows? Especially if you don't win constructors. And again, we'll update those standings too. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I'm not confident he starts in the seat. I still think
Really?
it's completely possible he does.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
just
Yeah,
I
100%.
just don't know what's going to happen.
Yep. And then just real quick, let's see. Oh yeah, Stroll not having comms the entire race for
That's gotta
Aston.
suck.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
it sucks.
Where did he end up finishing? 15. I mean, whatever. At least he finished.
He finished. Yeah, imagine going into the pit lane and that is that is the notification your team gets that he's looking to pit. He's coming down the lane right now.
Oh, he's coming right now.
Yeah, so he had that like 30-second pit or something like that. It's not his fault.
Nothing you
right?
can do.
Yeah,
not the team's. Well, not the people that actually change the tires.
I had someone say, someone was like, it's not Stroll's fault, but it technically is Stroll's fault because it's his car and his company. So really, you climb the ladder of
the ladder of Stroll.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The ladder of Stroll.
It is
Yes.
his
then
car,
it's
so
Stroll's fault.
it is Stroll's fault.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
Aston.
I don't know why I put notes down for kick, but
yeah,
I will say Zhou for a while
he was up there
a decent,
actually.
decent running. Still didn't get into points, but got relatively quick. I would like to see Zhou get a point or kick get a point this season, just 1 point.
Do you think? We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
I got all sorts of tinfoil hat stuff, and I don't even have a tinfoil hat here, so I probably shouldn't even say it. Williams, Colapinto starts from the pit lane after his Q2 crash. Another crash from Colapinto.
Yeah.
It's starting to become a little common for a guy who's still trying to hopefully land an F1 seat in the future.
I was looking at the Deconstructors Championship points.
And until
the Destructors Championship
and
points.
until this race, Pierre Gasly was
I
insanity,
think
$0.
I think he can still be considered zero because it isn't his fault. He didn't cause any like body damage or anything. So
you're right.
I think he's still at zero. That being said,
which is insane, by the way.
Yes.
I don't know if any driver's ever finished.
Crazy good from Gasly.
Not even a puncture.
Keeping it incredibly clean. Yeah,
said.
that's awesome. But Franco's up there. He's pretty, and he's only had half a season, so
that's not good.
That being said, super hard rookie. Right?
Yeah, super green.
Yeah.
Super green. Let's see.
Oh, and his teammate, just a bad week for Williams, unfortunately. Albon having to retire because I heard maybe he had some overheating issues.
That's
so maybe
what I
some of the
thought,
trash on the track that got in there.
Dude, that's kind of embarrassing.
I saw lap 2.
Some of the bags go blown across.
Yeah, lap 2. I saw this lap 2 of the entire race. Russell's car and Charles' car both had trash hanging from them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Come on.
Sin City.
You're making us look bad. Come on.
Unbelievable.
What's going on here?
Freaking Qatar and Abu Dhabi and Abu Dhabi, never mind. But Qatar and these other desert tracks, you know what I mean? Nothing's coming across those tracks.
Yeah.
And you think there's, this barren, there's going to be random crap. Not even a tumbleweed, nothing. I mean, maybe you'll get a rat. There might be a rabbit or something every now and then, but that moves itself.
Yeah,
but the bags, that's just
or
you
doesn't
said,
move
kind of
itself,
embarrassing,
and it's
or
really
it doesn't
sad.
move itself.
It's really sad. Yeah, no, it sucks to see. Luckily, shouldn't rather affect too much with the car, but still, it's come on. That's my home country. I don't want to see that.
It's completely embarrassing.
Yeah,
and Miami's just embarrassing by itself. Go Coda.
Coda is the best. I think Vegas is probably I don't want to talk about Vegas anymore.
All right, fair enough. Real quick before we're done talking about Vegas. Alpine though, Gasly, the whole engine pretty much blown up on him deal. That sucks.
Yeah, Gasly.
He didn't have a great start, and he was starting to kind of fall back a little bit. But then he started picking up.
He would have gotten
pace.
a point, I think.
Oh, at least
a point. So it sucks to see that.
Do you think he would have been able to finish in front of Max Verstappen?
No.
No.
I think he finishes ahead of Nico, probably.
Okay,
but
fair
that's
enough.
it.
Fair enough. Not in front of the McLarens even. Do you think he would have gave a battle of the McLaren? I think he would have battled the McLarens.
I think he would have battled the McLarens.
Finished in front of both McLarens.
Yeah.
But that's me being Gasly fan.
Yeah.
But,
and then Ocon having to go into the pit when his team wasn't ready and just having to drive through that's
can't have that happen.
You can't have truly cannot have that happen. That's some Ferrari level strategy right there.
Alpine heading in the right direction. Thank God I'm a fan.
The car's better. Team's still not so good, but we'll get there.
So, constructors.
Let's talk about them, eh?
Let's pull it up here real quick. I should have had that.
I got them up here as well.
All right.
So we currently have 3 teams with any possible chance of winning this.
And Red Bull, that's going to be really difficult.
Red Bull's, you have one driver pulling the weight, and the car is not as good as it once was.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so either. Especially let's see. The most that you can get out of a weekend, minus a sprint, which we do have this weekend, is, well, even with the sprint,
do they
8, 7,
they get
15,
they get constructors points in
50.
the sprint?
Yeah.
I thought it was just,
If the driver scores a point for the team gets it as
interesting.
well. So 26, 25, 51, and then 8 and 7, 15, which would be
What are you talking about right now?
sprint points and then race points.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm hearing numbers and they're floating
25,
around.
18 is, I shouldn't be doing math on
I hear you. Me
on
either.
the camera.
No, I do not blame you at all.
I don't know if they can make it,
But I think
Ferrari and McLaren should still be
And Ferrari
putting
has a
points.
legitimate chance actually at beating McLaren and somehow pulling off the constructors, which at the beginning of the year, absolutely not.
Yeah, so
Absolutely not.
yeah, it's gonna be close. Just so we have the points that we're kind of talking here. McLaren is currently at 608, with Ferrari at 584, and Red Bull at 555. So right now it's Red Bull fighting Ferrari, Ferrari fighting McLaren.
Red Bull would have to finish 1-2 the next two races.
Yeah,
I
Red
think,
Bull.
even really have
Checo
a
needs
chance.
to get up there.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Kev's like, not gonna happen.
Kev's laughing.
New
yeah.
pole.
Checo just needs to get points. Truly,
Yeah.
he needs to get more than 1 point a race, and then they can
No, he
keep
needs
fighting.
to be P5 or better at least,
Yeah.
and that's without trying to do math on here.
Yep.
I don't know.
I don't
what
know
he
why I
actually
even tried. Yeah,
needs. Excuse me. Jeez, choked on my spit.
That's okay.
Anyway,
so 20 points, 24 points Ferrari from McLaren. They get another 1-2, or they get even 2-4,
very positive.
right? Like McLaren.
And Carlos is racing really well
he
right
is.
now.
He is. They're both. Yeah.
I mean, Charles
both
is too,
cars.
but like Carlos is. It's not just because he finished P3 ahead of Charles this week, but like last couple races, it just feels like Charles has pace.
Yep.
So it's interesting. A little send off for him. Yeah.
And then best of the rest, Aston with the Mercedes with
Mercedes
425.
technically, but-
Mercedes not moving from fourth. Mercedes has fourth.
Aston's
So good
locked
for
in.
Mercedes. Aston's at 86.
Real
And then we
close
got
race.
the bottom
Insanity.
The bottom 6, 7, 8.
Haas, Alpine, Racing Bulls in that order.
They
50, 49, 46
That's
points in that order.
crazy. That's insane. And all you need is just a couple low points, just be in the couple like low 10s during a race, and you make a difference.
And we've seen Nico being able to do that. We've seen K-Mate get a point, I believe.
Yep.
We've seen both Racing Bull drivers, while Liam, has some work to do right now. But I think he's got at least a point.
I think, yeah, he does. Yeah.
And then you've seen both Alpine drivers as well getting
Mm-hmm.
points. So that's a toss-up for me. I don't know.
It is. I think
Whoever's car is the healthiest will end up.
exactly.
I
And
mean,
that's,
Haas has been pretty consistent.
they have, and that's why I think
So-
Alpine probably isn't going to get 6th.
You don't think so?
I think it's not by
Because
the driver's
I think Nico
fault.
can
But
consistently get in points
Yes.
the next two races.
I think Nico can consistently get in points. I think K-Mag can get close. I think Gasly can probably consistently get points. I don't think Ocon can.
I think they're going to need... I think if K-Meg plays teammate for the constructors to finish 6th, which is that the highest they've ever finished? No. Haas. I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
Might tie the highest. I don't know.
It might.
But Mike, where are you? Mike.
He's gone.
Dang, where was I going now? Now my brain's going everywhere. But anyway... darn, I just completely lost my
we
train of
haven't
thought, but-
mentioned like putting V-carb in that mix. Like
I know. I mean, Yuki can do it.
he can.
Yuki could absolutely do it too, and he can beat Nico. For
I feel
sure.
like I've seen Haas a bit more consistent, but their points are so close, right? They're so close.
And what's the difference in points between like 7th and 10th? I know 10th is 1.
Between 7th and 10th, I
Yeah.
think it's all one
It
increment.
is just 1.
I think so.
But I mean, at this point, Racing Bull's 4 points back of Haas, so
Yep.
2 races left. I guess you're
It's
going to need a little
possible.
bit more than
They-
that. You're going to need
there's
both drivers to race
4-point
well.
difference, you
Yeah,
know.
Yeah.
I think it's a 1 point. I mean, I can check really.
So
quick.
So if Gasly just wins next week like he will, then
It's actually
then they're fine.
a 5-point difference. It's 1 for 10th and 6 for 7th. So it's
Okay, so
absolutely
70
possible.
okay.
Absolutely possible.
Interesting.
And Yuki got 9, so we got 2 points. Nico got 8th, so we got 4 points.
Dude, yeah, this could go.
It's
either
going
way.
to be it's going to be really close. They're
Throw
going to be
one
fighting each
Alpine
other.
car in there at least. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting. And then one last bit before we move into our news. It was kind of funny, the little awkward drive after the race. It seemed awkward to me with Carlos and both Mercedes drivers in there. And then when you think about it, it's kind of just funny. You know what I mean? George, probably thrilled he just won the race. He's going to be Mercedes' #1 driver, just sitting in the middle. He wasn't like smiling or anything, but like he just looked like he's good. You know what I mean? And then Lewis just kind of like looking out the window. Carlos probably feeling a little bit awkward.
Lewis at one point
it was a good picture, and that should be right here to start next season. But
Lewis at one point was like, "How long is this drive, man?" Like it's. It
looked awkward.
I've said it for months at this point, ever since we kind of been talking about Vegas. Like, I just dislike the fanfare around it. I think just put him on the podium. I think it's cool to see Terry Crews interview them, but he's not going to give us anything like incredibly beneficial that happened during the race.
Thing with his chest that I can't do. You know what I mean?
You're right. That is beneficial to F1.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
TV.
I didn't think about that. TV. That is good TV.
Anyway. Moving on, Kev, let's head to our news. And really the only news we have this week, unless you have something else crazy that's like tinfoil hat-ish.
Well, I'll keep it.
Oh, okay. Well, unofficially official, you heard that. Cadillac to join the grid in 2026 without the Andretti name.
Yes.
Which was not the case when they first tried to and were denied. So that's kind of interesting. We'll get there.
Yep.
Ferrari to supply their power units for 26 and 27, and then GM, General Motors, for those of you that don't know, to supply its own power unit by 2028.
Yep. So this will be, I think, General Motors team. This is a GM team, but they're going to use the Cadillac name because that is the rate they're racing.
General Motors Cadillac.
Yeah,
is what
that would more than likely. Kind of going back to Andretti. I think one of the biggest reasons why they allowed them on the grid is because Andretti's no longer part of it. Which
is wild. So he has no hand at all with the team at all.
I don't think that's true. I'm sure he's probably in some capacity, at least supporting them.
What am I missing?
Right. Andretti just
wasn't it his dad that was an actual F1 WDC champion?
I don't know. I just know during the whole like talks of Andretti joining, he did a lot of stuff on social media that no one loved, and so they kind of just.
That's what it is.
I think so. I think it's just not a really a good.
Not a good face to start a new company.
And then GM kind of comes to the table, and it's like that they're in. Right.
That's what I mean. It's like they were waiting for it.
We're still super early. So. Yeah, exactly. We're still super early. I mean, so much can happen. We're only in principle. They could still probably axe this if they wanted to, but it would be cool to see another American team.
This is the team I would be hopping on the bandwagon for.
Another team in general, right? I don't think they're going to do well at the start. But
so way too early seat predictions.
Oh yes, of course.
Mick.
You think?
I just wanted to see her face. For those of you on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you got to go look up the YouTube just to see his face when I just said Mick. We all know he really wants to see Mick back on the. I mean, I think everybody does, honestly. But so think about it: Mick, Bottas, K-Mag could be out there. They're not going to convince Roman Grosjean to come back into the F1 grid, but who knows? Out there. Vettel, how old is he going to be in 2026? I doubt it. You know what I mean? But there's veteran options that you could just slap in there. Daniel Ricciardo, does he make a return to the grid?
Danny Rick is probably one of the.
God, what about starting your team? That'd be a great idea. PR move.
I mean, he is almost an American already, so like, why not? I feel like Danny Rick, in terms of all of those veterans, he's probably one of like the most obvious choices. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a great track record as of recently, but good PR move. Bottas, I don't think he's done anything really wrong. He's had a bad car, so why not get him? He's a good veteran. But it's also possible they could just start swinging with some young blood. Who knows?
Both of them at the same time with a new car.
It makes sense to get a veteran in there, but
at least one though.
We're also 2 years.
I could see 1 and 1, right?
Yeah,
older guy, young guy.
We're also 2 years away. Maybe we see one of the current seats, go over and fill their.
It's gonna be Danica Patrick. I'm just kidding.
That's an interesting take.
No, I don't think so. But I think we are very close to seeing a female F1 driver at some point.
Yeah.
I know there's one that just joined the academy for, darn it,
Haas. Oh wait,
No. Was it Haas? Maybe it was
I don't know.
Haas.
I know that a lot of them join all the time.
Sure.
But Kev's pulling up some stuff. I know Chloe Chambers is already
Ton of female academy drivers.
They're already a lot. Bianca's been there for a
somebody's
while.
bound to make that jump though.
Yeah, I mean they got to get to F3 and then it's so I'm hoping that does come to fruition. That would be really fun. But yeah, Cadillac.
Yeah, who knows?
Still a couple years before we see him on the grid, but
It's exciting though. Go for it.
I was just kind of reading an article before we started just to kind of, see how they got in and like what they're planning on doing. We know that they're going to have a GM motor late decade, probably 27 or 28. 28, sorry.
Allegedly.
So they're going to use a Ferrari engine, which is a decent engine. I mean, Haas is using it, right? Fine. Haas's issue isn't the Ferrari engine, so that's good. Good engine to be using, I think.
Right.
So yeah, we have so many, I feel like America's just kind of taken over the sport a little bit, right? Two teams, now two powertrains by that
They're
time.
just trying to grow it. They want more viewership. That's what it is for sure. Definitely. And if they don't get it, it'll all be gone.
Yep.
But yeah. I think that's all we got really for news.
I think so.
I had one more little thing, but it's not coming to me.
I'm gonna have one little thing. Just an article title, and I'll read it out. And I won't say anything else. That was the last thing I was going to
say about the Cadillac thing.
Yeah.
Christian Horner was the only one that came out and was like, I don't know about sharing the prize money because Cadillac's going to have to pay GM Cadillac, sorry, he's going to have to pay 200 to 600 million or whatever to try to offset the prize money deal. So Horner's a little bit nervous about that, but everybody else seems to be. Zach Brown seems to be an ambassador even for them joining. So
the American,
the unofficially official joining of GM.
Yep. No, yeah. I mean, I think it's good for the sport. I think for the most part, people wanted to see Andretti join. They wanted him on the team.
He'll end up being part of it at some point. But what were you going to say? What was the other
this is really
thing
quick. Just a headline: Red Bull not confident for 2025 F1 car despite Verstappen's latest title. I don't know if it means anything.
Such a weird thing.
Such
to
a
just
weird
come out
headline.
With right
yeah,
after
it came out from Autosport.
Just so you guys know, we're probably not winning next year.
Yeah, I don't. It's probably. I don't know if it has any.
That's super weird.
Any weight behind it, but I thought it was interesting to see.
They're just trying to save face early.
Maybe it's possible, but it would be nice to see everyone fighting each other at the start of next year.
It will happen. To start those first 5 races, watch out.
I'm hoping.
Australia, watch out.
Yeah, I'm hoping. It didn't happen this year, so I'm hoping
it's going to happen next year.
Yep.
A lot of rookies. Anyway, Kev, let's go into our preview of Qatar. And to start our Qatar preview, like always, actually this week I put Qatar preview featuring Joe. So, Joe, there you go.
Thanks for having me.
yeah, hey, no problem. Welcome.
Last week I was saying this is my show. Now it's your show. It's perfect.
Hey, took ownership back.
It's probably.
I didn't let you know. Sorry.
That's okay. I didn't let you know either. Okay.
No, you did not.
Should we talk about Qatar?
If you want to.
I do. Thanks. Hey, thank you. Thank you for giving me that permission.
You have the permission. Yep.
So this year we got Formula One Qatar Airways Qatar Grand Prix 2024. Fun fact: first ever F1 race was in Qatar was 2021. Not really a fun fact, kind of just a fact, I think.
Yeah, but people forget it hasn't been around forever.
That's true. I mentioned this earlier, but this is the last sprint weekend of the whole season. And last year it was very hot. I remember this one being surprisingly one of the hardest weekends due to heat, and I don't think many of the drivers were expecting that either.
Yeah, it was really hard on the drivers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The race I mentioned this is a little later in the year this season. So we already kind of got our weather.
You think they did that on purpose for that reason for the drivers?
I don't know, because I feel like the order of the races are determined before this race could have happened last year. So I'm not sure. Maybe though, or maybe they had to do it late, like earlier in the year last year, but it really was supposed to be slotted later because they knew the heat was bad. So Shouldn't be as bad this year, but we will see
No
when
melting
this weekend
tires.
comes. Yeah. So our starting grid was Max, George, and Lewis. Before the race even began, Carlos's Ferrari encountered a technical issue during the build-up to the race that the team was unable to fix before lights out, so he did not take part in the race. Lining up for the start, K-Mag accidentally took the incorrect pit box in the missing Ferrari's place, getting himself a 10-second penalty before the race even started. Off the line towards the first corner, Lewis got a good start and goes alongside George, starting to even challenge Max. But as they reach that corner, Lewis cuts in a little too much towards George, tagging his back wheel and George's front left, completely knocking off his own wheel and spinning into the runoff. So Lewis knocked off his tire, like he hit George so hard he got his tire knocked off and he spun off. George spins off a little further in the corner. Lewis immediately out of the race and George rejoining in last place. Absolutely shambles for Mercedes early on in Qatar. Across the line after the safety car restart, Verstappen leads Piastri and Alonso behind on lap 5. Leclerc close behind both of them. Everyone is able to keep it nice and clean for this restart. Russell ends up in 14th at the restart, but makes quick work of Perez for 13th one lap later. He's able to continue fighting up the field and eventually actually makes his way to 4th for the end of the race. Kind of makes you consider how big an opportunity for the win he would have had if he hadn't spun out. And honestly, when I was watching the highlights, I just kind of noticed like most of these are Russell just kind of making these overtakes over and over again. So he had a crazy good race last year, despite, the spin early on. Lap 33, Alonso goes off the road for the second time during the race, this time finding the gravel, pushing him back to 6th behind Leclerc. On lap 41, Logan reported not feeling well under the Qatar heat and decides to retire, struggling to get out of the car when he makes it to the garage.
I'm just kidding. That's pretty serious. Can't be doing that in IndyCar, brother.
Crazy. We actually saw a lot of interesting actions from the drivers due to the heat. George put his hands in front of his face to get some air to them. Drivers struggling to get out of the car at the end of the race. I think Gasly reported
I remember George putting his hand out.
Yeah,
to try
he was
to direct
like doing
air.
like and I think Gasly reported yakking in his helmet during the race as well. Yeah, it was rough.
Not cool.
Last little note I have, Norris, who started in 10th, performed a decent drive. He made his way through the field to 3rd by the end of the race. And his teammate Oscar is able to capitalize on Merckx spinning early and hold 2nd throughout the entire race. So our final was Verstappen to Piastri, Norris to Russell, Leclerc to Alonso, Ocon to Bottas, and then Stroll to Perez. So we actually saw Bottas get a point last season during this race, or a couple points last season.
I do not think he will be getting a point.
No, probably not, unfortunately.
Yeah, so really the heat was really the headline of last year's
100%,
race, and kind of just bearing it and getting through. So maybe a little bit more action this week. I don't know. I'm not the huge fan of this track. I like racing it though, actually, on the game that you hate. The game that you hate.
Oh, I went so hard into it. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Don't even get me started.
I like racing it too, though.
Flows,
it is fun.
It flows. It's got a good flow to it.
Yeah, it does have a good flow to it. You're right. It didn't promote.
It's one that I don't crash at very often.
Yeah, so. It's not too easy to crash there. I think besides that, that incident between Lewis and George, I don't think we're going to see a ton of action. I think this is the first that was the first year there was a safety car. Before that, there was a 0% safety car probability. I think we only had like one race beforehand. It's a super early track, or super new track rather. So, but yeah, I don't know if we're going to see like a ton of like crazy action, but it's a race. So
yeah, it's a race. It's a race. Championship's done, but there's still going to be some great racing. Again, we mentioned the Haas, Racing Bull, and Alpine race right now. That's insane.
We're going to be having a focus.
Ferrari versus McLaren's. That's going to be a heated race.
It's all in constructors now.
And at this point, I honestly do feel like they kind of want it now, especially like Ferrari, especially McLaren. You're not getting the WDC this year, so you want that constructors bad. Red Bull's probably not going to get it. Great opportunity. We'll see. But as far as our picks go, last week in Vegas, Joe's rubbing his eyeballs. He's either tired or disgusted about his picks last week.
I don't think I got any.
You're correct. You got 0 points. Cole, 0 points. Tyler, 0 points. Mike, 0 points. Smelty, 1 point.
No!
Yes, sir. You know who it was? George Russell.
Yeah, it was a Mercedes. I would have never guessed.
Oh, my God. Me either.
That's crazy.
And then I did. So, complete guess.
Further solidifying my last place. Thank you for that.
No, Mike's in last place. He has 0.
Mike doesn't count.
Oh God! Did you end up grabbing Tyler and Cole's
I did.
picks?
Yes.
What did they say?
Cole
for
goes
this
first,
week
yeah,
in
or is it
Qatar?
Tyler?
Tyler goes first.
Tyler goes forward. All right, Tyler's picks are Sainz, Leclerc, and George.
Leclerc. Oh, okay. Now we're gonna pick George. Now, okay, yeah. Wow. Okay. What do we got for Cole?
Cole is Max, Leclerc, and Hamilton. We're seeing some Mercedes now. He actually picked Max. Isn't that crazy?
That's what I'm.
He actually picked Max.
That's.
Why do you think he picked
What?
Max?
All right. Who are the other two? I totally blanked out.
Leclerc and Hamilton.
Leclerc and Hamilton. Wow. What?
Yeah,
I like the
just
Hamilton
realized that
pick.
too.
That's kind of low key. I don't hate that. That's tough. Oh, now it's me. Darn it.
It is you.
I'm going Max, Carlos, and I haven't chosen Carlos in a while, and George again.
Max, Carlos, George.
I think Leclerc could be in there. Did you? Okay, this is an opportunity for you.
No one has picked a
McLaren.
McLaren.
That's what I was just about to say. This is an opportunity for you if you go Lando or something.
And so usually I come to these with my predictions. I have not thought about this at all because I just don't know. But seeing that, knowing that we're so late and that I need points, I'm going to go Lando and Oscar.
Whoa, double up on the
yeah.
papayas.
Man, I want to pick a Mercedes, but
Yeah, you do.
I almost think that
Ferrari though.
yeah, and plus I almost think that maybe
Maxwell.
Vegas was just a good track for them. I don't know if they're going to be able to carry the momentum. I'd like
Ferrari?
to think they are. No, Mercedes.
Oh, Mercedes. Yeah,
I'd like to
I
think
hear
they
ya.
will, but I just don't know. Man, you guys picked Hamilton.
I've gotten George the last
You all have a
3
Ferrari
weeks.
and a. Would safe bet be Max? I don't think so.
Gosh, that's tough. Because what is he racing hard for now, other than being Max Verstappen? So
He raced hard last year
He's gonna still
too.
race hard.
He
It's Max
won.
Verstappen. What am I
He won
talking
in this.
about?
Okay, fun fact: he won in the sprint of Qatar last year, and this was earlier in the year. Early. And he still raced just as hard at the end of the year. He still was winning races back to back to back to back. Like I think the only race he didn't win after he won was Singapore. So he was winning, I think. Like don't fact check me. I'm gonna fact check
Don't
myself.
fact check me.
But yeah, so it's man, the third pick. Singapore was before Qatar, I'm sorry.
Stop delaying.
Oscar, Lando,
Yeah. Actually, you said Lando Oscar, but
Lando, Oscar, George. I'm
Whoa!
gonna George.
Yeah, join the
I
party.
feel like that was a bad choice. That's
Max is winning the race now.
fine. We got extra points too to
Yeah,
possibly grab.
did they-
They did.
Okay, what did they say for
All right,
their
so
extra point?
our extra point this week is who finishes higher between Liam, Yuki, and Checo, because one of the main topics is Checo going to get his seat? So is Checo going to get his seat taken away? I didn't finish my sentence. So Tyler says Yuki, and Cole says Yuki.
And Cole says Yuki.
Yeah, this is for 2 points, right?
This is for 2 points. Extra 2 points.
What do you think?
Well, you took a chance on the McLarens when nobody
did.
else is. I'm going to take a chance on Checo because I have a feeling nobody else is.
Man, does Checo didn't do well last year, I don't think.
He didn't do well here this year either.
Yeah, but where did Checo get last year?
Last.
He got 10th last year. in
That's a
Qatar.
point.
Was he ahead of Yuki? That's the question. He was. He was ahead of Yuki and Liam.
Watch Liam just blow him out of the water this
But
week.
their car is better this year. I was gonna go this was the only thing I did think about coming here. I was gonna go Yuki, but in the spirit of being different, I'll go Liam.
Oh, Liam.
I
Now
know,
watch
that
our
was such
two
a
leaders
bad
both
choice.
get bonus points and we get nothing.
That's such a bad choice.
Oh, we should have
Yeah.
asked Mike.
Nah,
What happened to ask Mike? Nah. Mike, there you go.
I didn't.
He says, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Liam was a bad choice. I'm regretting it almost instantly.
Yeah. Real quick before we leave, if you're checking out the bottom, you can see the driver odds. Is that for this week? This
Oh,
week
interesting.
specifically. Look at you with your Lando pick.
Max 400.
No,
Well,
you know. But anyway,
Oscar 450. That's kind of crazy. I don't know. Oscar did do well. Are they just based? Do you think that's mostly based off of last year? Maybe. I'm sure there's got to be.
I would be
some-
curious how they based F1.
And then George and Lewis are high up there because of
last week. I reckon.
I don't know this. I don't know how to do this odd thing.
That's fine.
It's more math.
Yeah. And we've found out all season that we're just not quite there with the math.
Nope.
But with that, you not got any last comment? So that's not about the F1 game. We know.
No. Second to last race. We got a sprint, so at least we get 2 for 1. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing McLaren keep their leading constructors, and if not, I'm open for a really good fight going to the end of the year.
It would be fun for it to come down to the last race.
It would. I know he listens to this podcast, Max Verstappen.